How many of you were here on the 7th? Small set of you. Okay. All right. I hope that's not my phone. Okay. So what I'm going to do is very quickly recap just a little bit for the folks who were not here on 7th, and for the folks who were here on 7th, I'll remind you what we talked about, and then we'll jump into things. Very quickly, this is no surprise to most of you. We're in this world of apps for everywhere, everyone, everything, almost, right? Or at least it feels like it. I gave some examples last time when we spoke. And if it's not that, chances are, a few of you in the audience are moving the ecosystem so that practically every aspect of our personal life and professional life is enhanced or supplemented by some form of an application, right? That's a pretty profound change. I mean, in the history of human life, we've had tools which have assisted us, but the way the apps are entering, enhancing, messing, you can choose your favorite word, your lifestyle is probably unprecedented. If you just abstract the app as a tool which helps you. I mean, besides clothing, practically nothing else sticks to us all day other than your smartphone. The devices, we'll talk a little bit, continue to grow. The average number of devices per human across the globe is continuously increasing. What that translates from your perspective is opportunity, business, more ability to monetize and maybe even innovate. Business models are emerging, business models are innovating, business models evolving, right? What many of us knew when we grew up in the industry is probably very different now. Chances are many of you are going to go off and redefine those business models out there in the future. And then I won't go into too much detail today, but the interaction with the devices is getting a lot more personal, a lot more personalized. We touched upon this last time. So the variety of devices continue to evolve, shapes, sizes, form factors, capabilities, right? It's good news and bad news. Good news because you can innovate, bad news because you have to work harder. The one thing which is happening is the platforms are continuously emerging, although there are more platforms and it feels like you want to come down to through. But the reality, and I asked last time, how many of you write code to exactly one platform? Probably 4-5% of the audience, right? If I stretch it, let's say 10% of the audience. So for the 90% of you who write code to multiple platforms, what we want to talk about is, how does HTML5 help you, right? We touched upon this last time. It's a standard. From our perspective, we want to work on the standard, help the standard, drive the standard, keep it a standard, and give you tools so that you can build on the standard. Now, this has probably been hotly debated across the industry, benefits, disadvantages, advantages, who's done it, why they did it, somebody did it, dropped it, etc. Point remains, standard evolves. Standard is focused towards making your life productive so that you can deploy across platforms and across devices. We talked about this last time, and for the folks who were not there, I'll just give a one-liner. Effectively, this gives you the ability to test your apps across platforms, even emulate and test it in one environment, and potentially create pseudo stores just so you can test it and then build it for multiple app stores, right? So if you didn't get a chance to play with it, go on our site and you can get this and download this and start using this. Today we'll talk about two more tools which potentially make your life productive for building platforms across, for building apps across platforms, right? The first one is the HTML5 app portal, and I'm looking for Mr. Raghavendra. Oh, there he is. Please come on stage. Welcome, Raghavendra. Hey, Raghu. Hey. So he's going to want to write cross-platform code. For as a start, let's say I'm an Apple developer, okay, right? I've written code for iOS. That's how I've spent a lot of time experience. How can I make it available for other platforms? More importantly, how do I do HTML5? How do you make my life easy? That's what we want to talk about.
So I definitely have a very good news for all iOS developer or the app owners of iOS apps. Intel have come up with a tool called App Porter tool. Can we switch to this, please?
while that's coming up, of code which has been written, let's say in this case for the iOS platform, and with minimum effort, and we'll talk about minimum effort, take it to, let's say, an HTML5 platform. Once you take it to an HTML5 base, then you have the ability to take it to multiple environments. Now, code converters have existed for the longest time. Code converters, as many of you who are strong semantic programmers know, are complicated, right? Because not necessarily always the semantics of a code get translated when you do. Here we'll show you an example where we'll take code from, let's say, iOS platform, move it to HTML5 platform, and almost instantly, and then oh, there we go. We'll let Raghu. No, it's still the old one.
Yeah.
And then the tool says, you know what? I think I've done 90% of the work, but I'm not exactly sure about these set of areas. So it'll start pointing you towards where we may need human intervention, where maybe you might need to look at the code and say, oh yeah, this one gets converted in this way, right? Essentially, productivity significantly enhances for you guys. Our objective again is, as you choose your platforms, once you get into the HTML5 mode, and once we allow you to help you with tools to get into HTML5, your deployment methodology becomes a lot faster, a lot simpler, a lot easier. What is not easier is we're not able to see Raghu's screen. This allows you to post to multiple stores. What it looks like. Raghu, you want to talk to this?
Sure, yeah.
Right? So, yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So this particular tool, what we have here is for iOS developers who have their Xcode written in iOS, written for iOS, and who want to extend their reach to other platforms. So the obvious choice is HTML5 and JavaScript, right? We need to convert it somehow to HTML5 and JavaScript. And again, as soon as we say that, it is either resource intensive, or it is basically either you need to spend a lot of money to get this converted into HTML5. So this tool, what it does is it's primarily converts your iOS code into HTML5 and JavaScript equivalent. You can see the screen here, right, which clearly talks about all your .m files gets converted, and .m, .c kind of files gets converted into corresponding JS files, and all your XIB files gets converted into HTML5 and CSS plus or additional resources if anything is there. So that's how the conversion takes place. And once the conversion takes place, it gives you information at each stage, right? What level of confidence the tool has on the conversion. It can say that I'm confident about 30%, 70%, like that it says, and you can choose what files to be converted to the target HTML5. Once the conversion is done, we have seen around 70% or around 60 to 80% of the source code gets properly converted into a target HTML5. So once the conversion is done, it also supports, if you are running Visual Studio 2012 and on Windows 8, once the conversion is done, it will launch the Visual Studio and you will be able to run the application right away. And if there are any manual activities or manual code fixing needs to be done, it will also give you a nice report saying that what all the additional files that you need to go and manually change it. So that's available free of cost on Intel website. You can download it and you can try out with your iOS code.
What else does a developer need? Just go to the site intel.com/html5 and then just download it?
They just need to register themselves. You just need an email ID. You register it and you can start downloading it. You can install it and start with the source code, and you will be able to.
Perfect. Thank you, Raghu. I'm sure your demo would have been wonderful if your screen had come up.
Thank you.
Okay. So this is what he was going to show, right? He actually had that balloon app. Okay, thank you. He actually had that balloon app on the left, working, and at the end of his demo, he would have showed you that, same thing working in HTML5 with code conversion. Find him afterwards. He'll be in the booth. He has a session, and if you're really keen, he'll actually show you this working. Our intention was to show you that conversion in less than 2 minutes. Okay, so as I said earlier, our objective here is go drive the standards, first of all, through HTML5 as it evolves, as it matures through various stages. More importantly, as a variety of devices come into the marketplace, how do these standards adapt to the device's capabilities is extremely critical. From a developer perspective, the solution is a relatively no-cost solution for you guys to go off and do the development, test it, get it. More importantly, the code which gets produced complies to standards. It does not create incompatibilities to the standards. That's something which I'll keep stressing, right? Your objective is to be able to deploy this code across platforms without having to break on, well, on this one it kind of doesn't work, on this one you kind of need this plugin. The screen's kind of messed up. You don't want those things. That's why we want to make sure that the code which gets generated is it as much standards as possible. It's in beta right now. It's going to continue to, but at least it gives you a flavor of what you could potentially do. Right. The other thing which we want to talk about, as we go into different platforms is Intel and Android. Right. Over the last sort of 2 years plus, we took a significant step in working with Google and making sure that the Android OS platform on Intel architecture is not only available but well optimized to the extent that it takes advantage of the capabilities we have on our hardware platform. So step one over the last sort of 2+ years is getting these devices into the marketplace, right? So what you see on screen are various Android-based devices being sold in various parts of the world, mostly phones in this case. And we just launched the ASUS PhonePad here from a tablet perspective, a 7-inch tablet. What this does is gives you the capability to go off and see Android shining on Intel architecture, right? Now, we know this is the first step in our early steps. Now, as the base of the devices worldwide grows, we want to make sure that we give you the best tools so that you can continue to develop on the Android platform and use our capabilities also, right? For that, I know I was gonna, where's Suprabha? Come on up, Suprabha. We were gonna show you one more demo, but luckily I have the slides on so she can talk through it. So Suprabha, what do we have for developers? What can they do? If I was an Android developer and I wanted to, use Intel platform or deploy the Intel platform, what's available to me?
So there are actually a suite of applications that are provided by Intel for Android developers. What we are talking about today is just one of those tools, which is the HAXM or the Hardware Accelerated Execution Manager. So most of the Android developers would have experienced this when we bring up the emulator, be it whatever configuration, whatever AVD that we have associated with the emulator.
When I used to write code, we would go for lunch when we start off the emulator, typically.
Absolutely. So that continues even today. So the Android emulator is pretty slow, inherently pretty slow. So what we have done in Intel, we have actually optimized the emulator using our virtualization technology, so that when you are using an Intel or an x86 based AVD, the emulator comes up pretty fast. So that's exactly what I wanted to show everybody here on how fast we are compared to the other platforms. But unfortunately,
I know I let you down here in terms of infrastructure, but Suprabha is teaching a class later this afternoon where she will go into detail through the emulator and walk you how you could use it. I think one point you brought up was about speed. Now, I'm assuming speed is important because it leads to productivity. Every time I write the code, change it, I want to launch an emulator, I don't want to be sitting and watching it for many minutes, and I want to be able to bring it fast, test it, run the code, and then take it back. Right? Okay. Thank you, Suprabha, and we'll see her in action later this afternoon. Right? This particular tool, I mean, we've had such fantastic reception, even from Google, where I think last year at Google I/O, if I remember correctly, this was one of those things which was in the booth, and the guys who were standing in the booth said, for the whatever 2 or 3 days we were there, it was just crazy because the number of people who wanted this, downloaded this, used it. As we see statistics from our website, there's a significant amount of download increase, since we started showcasing this, right? And it keeps pace with the progression of the various releases which comes out. So, for people who've been through 1 or 2 different platforms, what happens here is it's not just the productivity aspect which you get involved, as you interact with the emulator, it comes up fast. It also keeps pace with the architectural changes we make, right? So right now, we have the Medfield platform on the phones. As we go through our future Clover Plus and, recently announced Bay Trail platforms, the emulator gets ready to emulate the future architectures also, right? And that gets abstracted away from what you need to do, right? It's all the various underlying hardware changes and the significant hardware changes which are happening, from Medfield all the way till the base. The emulator will start inherently being ready so that you're able to take advantage of the capabilities of that platform. So I would encourage you to go check it out. And this is the website where you can go get it. Suprabha was talking about the virtualization technology being used to accelerate the emulator performance, as much as 2 to 4x, right? So these are the sort of two things we want to quickly touch upon today, and I'm almost summarizing. The objective is 80% plus of you want to write code on multiple platforms or need to write code on multiple platforms because of your customer requirements. We're stressing on standards, use a methodology so you can deploy faster, better, and even across the same platform as you scale through different devices, right? Let's say you're writing code to the Android platform. You're going to have devices with multiple screen sizes. Things like HTML5 will help you scale across those different screen sizes and form factors, right? Our objective is get you those tools, get you those systems, get you into labs, get into the various hackathons, contests, etc., so you can become productive. Intel.com/software, again, I told you 2 days ago, this is a site, everything pretty much we talk about, most of this gets posted over there. You can go check it out. These are the sessions later this afternoon. We're going to have 3 different sessions across 3 speakers here. Closing in, bottom line for you guys, more devices, more usage, but more devices brings in more complexity in programming, helping build platforms across, helping build apps across these platforms is our objective. We showed you 2 simple tools on how we can help you go build those tools build those apps more productively using these tools, right? And finally, I personally keep saying this over and over again, right? You guys shape culture, right? You guys are the visionaries, and you can potentially alter tomorrow. Thank you very much.